March 15th, 1994, 7:23 p.m. EST. Radio City Music Hall, New York City. 2,000 people were settling into their seats for what they believed would be the most extraordinary duet in music history, when Aretha Franklin, the undisputed Queen of Soul, walked into Whitney Houston's dressing room and spoke 5 words that would shatter the biggest collaboration ever planned. "I will not sing tonight." The woman who had commanded respect from every artist in America for 3 decades was about to deliver the most devastating professional rejection Whitney Houston had ever received. This is the untold story of the night 2 queens collided, when legend confronted legacy, and when Aretha Franklin's brutal honesty exposed a wound in Whitney's soul that would never heal. The Lincoln Center tribute to American music was supposed to be the crown jewel of 1994, pairing the Queen of Soul with the voice in a performance critics were already calling legendary. For 6 months, event organizer Marcus Williams had been planning this moment, knowing this collaboration would define both women's legacies. But Marcus had underestimated Aretha Franklin's growing concern about Whitney's career, and he had no idea that Aretha had been waiting for the right moment to speak a truth nobody else had the courage to say. Whitney, fresh from vocal warm-up and feeling confident, opened her dressing room door expecting to share pre-performance nerves with a fellow artist. Instead, she found a woman who looked at her with the stern expression of a mother about to discipline a disappointing child. "Whitney, we need to talk," Aretha said, her voice carrying 30 years of authority. "About tonight, about this duet, about what I've been watching happen to you for the past 3 years. Whitney's smile faltered. "Miss Franklin, is everything okay? I want you to listen very carefully," Aretha continued, remaining standing while Whitney gestured to chairs. "I have been singing professionally for 40 years. I've worked with Sam Cooke, Ray Charles, Luther Vandross. I've seen careers rise and fall, watched artists destroy themselves with drugs, ego, and pressure. I've learned to recognize when a young performer is losing their way." Whitney started to protest, but Aretha held up her hand with authority. "I watched your Grammy performance last month, and I saw something troubling. I saw a young woman who had forgotten why she started singing, who was performing for cameras instead of music, more concerned with impressing audiences than honoring God's gift." The words hit Whitney like physical blows because somewhere in her heart she knew Aretha was speaking truth she'd been ignoring. "Miss Franklin, my career is better than ever. The Bodyguard soundtrack is the biggest album in the world. How can you say I'm losing my way?" Aretha's expression softened, but her resolve remained unshaken. "Baby, success and purpose aren't the same thing. You can sell millions and still lose your soul. I watched you perform I Will Always Love You, and while everyone applauded your technique, I mourned the absence of your spirit." Whitney felt tears forming, not from sadness but from shock at such direct criticism from someone whose opinion mattered more than any chart position. "What do you mean, the absence of my spirit? When I sing respect, I'm channeling every woman who's been dismissed, every person denied dignity, every voice silenced by prejudice. I'm not entertaining people, I'm healing them, connecting them to something larger. But when you sing now, all I hear is technique. Perfect pitch, flawless runs, incredible power. But where is Whitney? Where's the young woman from gospel churches who understood that singing is prayer?" Whitney felt something breaking inside as Aretha's words found their target with surgical precision. "I thought I was honoring the gift." "You were, baby. For a while you absolutely were. But somewhere along the way, the business got into your head. The pressure to be perfect, to hit every note flawlessly, to never show vulnerability, to maintain this image of untouchable perfection. It's killing the very thing that made you special in the first place." Aretha finally sat down, her expression shifting from stern judgment to maternal concern. "I came here tonight, planning to sing with you, planning to celebrate your talent and welcome you into the sisterhood of women who have dedicated their lives to music. But I cannot stand on that stage and pretend that what I'm witnessing is healthy or sustainable." Whitney's hands began shaking as the magnitude of what was happening sank in. "Miss Franklin, Are you saying you won't perform with me tonight? That's exactly what I'm saying, and I need you to understand why. The Queen of Soul's words hung in the air like a death sentence as Whitney Houston realized that her artistic idol was about to walk away from the most important collaboration of her career before it could even begin now. What I'm about to tell you comes from a place of love, but it's going to hurt, and I need you to hear every word because your career and your soul depend on understanding what I'm seeing that everyone else is afraid to mention. Aretha Franklin's devastating words hung in the air as Whitney Houston struggled to process that the Queen of Soul was ending the most important collaboration of her career. Whitney sank into her makeup chair, feeling the weight of Aretha's judgment pressing down on her like a physical force. "Miss Franklin, please help me understand. What are you seeing that's so wrong? I practice constantly. I respect the music. I honor the tradition. I grew up in church just like you did." Aretha leaned forward, her eyes intense with the passion of someone who had spent 4 decades fighting for artistic integrity. "Baby, technique without soul is just showing off. Perfection without purpose is just ego. You've become so focused on proving you can sing anything, hit any note, outsing any competitor, that you've forgotten the most important question every true artist must ask. Why am I singing this song? What am I trying to heal in the world?" She stood up and began pacing the small dressing room, her voice gaining momentum as she spoke truths that had been building inside her for 3 years. "I watched you sing the Star-Spangled Banners at the Super Bowl, and it was technically flawless. Every note perfect, every run executed with precision. But I didn't feel America in your voice. Whitney, I didn't feel the struggle of people who died for that flag, the hope of immigrants who saw it as a symbol of freedom, the pain of those who were denied the rights it represents. All I heard was Whitney Houston showing off how well she could sing the national anthem." Whitney felt as if the room was spinning as Aretha's words stripped away every defense she had built around her artistic choices. But people loved it. It went to #1. They said it was the greatest rendition ever performed. People applauded because they were impressed by your skill, not moved by your spirit. There's a difference, baby, and that difference is the line between being a great singer and being a true artist. Aretha stopped pacing and looked directly into Whitney's eyes. "I've been watching you for 3 years now, waiting to see if you would remember who you were before the fame, before the pressure, before everyone started telling you that perfect technique was enough. But instead, I've watched you become more distant from the music, more focused on maintaining an image of untouchable perfection." Whitney tried to speak, but Aretha wasn't finished delivering her devastating assessment. "At the Grammy Awards last month, you performed 3 songs. 3 songs, Whitney. And in those 15 minutes, I counted 47 vocal runs. 47 separate moments where you decided that showing off your range was more important than serving the song. That's not artistry, baby. That's athletics. You're treating your voice like a gymnast treats their body, showing off how many flips you can do instead of telling a story that matters." The criticism hit Whitney harder than any bad review or industry gossip ever could because it was coming from the woman whose respect she craved more than any award or accolade. "Miss Franklin, I don't do runs to show off. I do them because they feel natural, because they express what I'm feeling in the moment. Do they? Or do you do them because audiences expect pyrotechnics instead of passion?" Aretha sat down, her expression softening. "Whitney, I'm not saying this to hurt you. You're becoming a human jukebox, hitting right notes but forgetting to mean anything by them." She reached over and took Whitney's hands. "Baby, do you remember first singing in church, when God's Spirit moved through you to touch hearts, singing not to impress anyone, but to connect?" Whitney nodded, tears now flowing freely as Aretha's words awakened memories she had buried under years of professional pressure and commercial success. "I remember. I was 12 years old, and my mother had me sing Amazing Graces during Sunday service at New Hope Baptist Church in Newark. I wasn't thinking about technique or impressing anyone. I just felt this overwhelming sense of gratitude and wanted to share it with everyone in that sanctuary. That's exactly right. You wanted to share it, not showcase it. You wanted to give something to the people listening, not prove something to them. That little girl who sang Amazing Grace is in Newark. That's the artist I'm trying to save tonight. Aretha squeezed Whitney's hands. But that little girl is disappearing, Whitney. She's being suffocated by someone who values perfect execution over honest expression, commercial success over spiritual connection. The industry has convinced you that technical perfection is enough, but it's not. Art requires vulnerability, Whitney, not just virtuosity. Whitney looked up at Aretha through her tears, her voice breaking with vulnerability. How do I get her back? How do I remember who I was before all of this pressure? Before everyone started expecting perfection instead of passion? Aretha stood up slowly, her decision clearly made, her resolve strengthened by decades of watching talented artists choose image over integrity. You start by making a choice right here, right now. You choose whether you want to be Whitney Houston, the product, or Whitney, the artist. You choose whether you want to spend the rest of your career trying to top your last performance or trying to touch people's souls with your voice. She moved toward the door but turned back for one final observation that would haunt Whitney for months afterward. And that's why I cannot sing with you tonight, baby. Because if I stand on that stage with you and participate in what you've become, I'm endorsing the very thing that's killing your artistry. I'm telling the world that technique without soul is acceptable, that showing off is the same as opening up. Whitney felt panic rising in her chest as the reality hit her fully. Miss Franklin, please. This duet means everything to me. This is my chance to prove I belong in the same category as you, that I'm worthy of being mentioned alongside the greatest singers in history. Aretha's expression grew stern. Whitney, you're already one of the greatest singers in history. Your technique is flawless, your range is extraordinary, your power is undeniable. But greatness isn't about being mentioned alongside other great artists. Greatness is about using your gifts to serve something larger than yourself. And until you remember that lesson, until you choose artistry over athletics, spirit over spectacle, I cannot stand with you. She paused at the door. When you're ready to choose vulnerability over perfection, when you're ready to sing for healing instead of applause, call me. But until then, I cannot participate in what you've become. And with those words, Aretha Franklin walked out, leaving Whitney alone with a mirror that reflected not a superstar but a young woman who had lost her way. The silence was deafening as Marcus Williams knocked at 7:40 p.m. expecting to escort both women for sound check, but found Whitney motionless, staring at her reflection with tears streaming. "Where's Aretha?" Whitney turned, devastated. "She's not singing tonight. Not with me." Over 45 minutes, as Marcus scrambled to reorganize the show, Whitney underwent the most profound artistic crisis of her career. She replayed every major performance through Aretha's devastating lens, slowly seeing her artistry as the queen had technically perfect but spiritually hollow. At 8:25 p.m., with 2,000 people expecting music history, Whitney made a career-changing decision. She found Marcus and announced she'd perform alone but not their rehearsed song. She wanted Amazing Grace, the hymn from New Hope Baptist 22 years earlier. "Whitney, you can't change everything 15 minutes before showtime." "Then I'll sing a cappella, Marcus. Just me, microphone and message. The song as it was meant to be sung before I forgot why I started." At 8:47 p.m., Whitney walked on stage alone, carrying only Aretha's words echoing in her mind. She spoke to the confused audience. "Many came expecting me with incomparable Aretha Franklin. She taught me tonight that singing isn't about impressing people with abilities, but connecting through feelings. Instead of showcasing abilities, I want to share gratitude. I'm singing the first song I performed publicly 22 years ago at New Hope Baptist, when I was 12 and had never heard of Grammy Awards." She closed her eyes and began Amazing Grace a cappella, voice stripped of trademark pyrotechnics, reduced to pure emotion. Without elaborate arrangements, Whitney was forced to find truth in every word, meaning in every note. For 4 minutes, Radio City became church, and Whitney became the artist Aretha challenged her to remember. 10 seconds of silence followed before 3 minutes of grateful recognition from people touched by something real. Whitney found a white rose and Aretha's note afterward. Now you're ready to sing with the Queen. Call me when you want to do it right. Love, Aretha. 6 months later they performed together at Kennedy Center Honors, singing Amazing Grace. Critics called the most moving duet in the event's history. That Radio City confrontation marked Whitney's journey back to artistic foundation, the spiritual core that would sustain her through future challenges. Years later, Aretha said refusing to sing was her career's hardest but most important decision. Sometimes love means saying no. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give a fellow artist is truth, even when it hurts deeply and cuts to the bone. Whitney needed to remember who she was before becoming who she was truly meant to be forevermore.